Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Alvin. I thank God every day I'm not a Falcon. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL. When things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, Buggy like this and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in this one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all for being in the live on this one, man. Thursday, we in the building. Saints and Panthers preview. We up in this thing. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all for being in the live. Who That's all the black and gold. Lester, shout out to Lester. Poppy 504, good to see y'all in the stream. Cartel, Ann Lewis, what's up, Ann? Shout out to you, V Griffin. What's up, Jason? Shout out to you, Donna. What's up, Donna? Saints go and get them Panthers. That's right. We gotta get the W. You know, I know if people say Q, we gotta lose out, but you know, we competitive, man. We want a good game. What's up, B Rock? Shout out to B Rock. Big ups to you. What's up, brother Joe? Shout out to Joe Gidry in the building as well. So fam, in this one, man, we're going to be going about our business and doing the Saints and Panthers game. Now, of course, we know the black and gold had some stuff going on in terms of it making some trades. You know, we covered that on the Tuesday stream. I've been kind of busy with other content, but yeah, we did a little flash report to kind of break down some of the things that we did see in that in terms of the Saints, you know, getting you know, some picks, you know, and we've seen some interesting trades, man, at this trade deadline. We've seen Sauce get traded from the Jets to the Colts. That was a big move. They swung for the fences. People were saying kind of slamming the Saints, but on some of their drafts, they had to move some of these guys. I really thought they were going to move more than we moved, to be honest with you. Alante Taylor was somebody the Saints was trying to move. Cesar Ruiz was another guy. Who else was it? Cesar Ruiz was another guy. There were quite a few guys. Pete Werner that were on the list, but, you know, moving them not right, you know, right now. But there also could still be in play in time of draft. Like when we get close to the draft, we can ultimately still could do something if we have the imagination. So once again, it depends on, you know, if they have the imagination, but they did secure some picks. And, you know, we're going to cover that right quick before we jump right into it. Y'all do me a service and hit that like button as we get going. And you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this, fam. Let me kind of set this up where I put a poll question to y'all. I want y'all to grade the Saints trade, you know, what they did in the trade, at the trade deadline. I want you to grade their trade deadline. Give me a second. Let me get this together here. See if I can get this together. All right, hold on, let me get this. Give y'all guys some options here. A, B. All right, put this. I just want to do this for the fam. I want to really know. So it's up, fam. Feel free to check it out. It's up there in the The poll is up, and let me know how y'all feel. Y'all vote into it. It says grade the Saints trades. What do you guys give the Saints at the trade deadline? What's the grade that you'll give them? Put it in the chat. It's A, B, C, and F. D is basically failing, barely passing, but we're just going to go F with that thing. But let me know how y'all feel about it in the poll, and we'll revisit the poll later on before we end the broadcast tonight. But nonetheless, man, let's cover some of this news as we get going. Shout out to you guys. Good to see you. What's up, Brian Gundam? Shout out to you, brother Gundam's in this thing as well. Big ups. And this is very interesting, man. So the trade deadline, Saints emerged with 3 more draft picks for the war chest. The cost was 2 starting players from their 1-8 football team, both of whom in different ways represented areas the franchise has come up short in recent years. Shout out to NOLA.com on this article. The Saints started by sending receiver Rashid Shaheed to the Hawks for 4th and 5th round picks in next year's draft. Minutes before the 3 p.m. buzzer, they completed a trade that sent the Penning to the offensive line needy Chargers in exchange for a 27 6th round pick for him. So, and of course, Kellen Moore did kind of break it down and talked about how he felt about it. We feel that, this is what he said to WWL. We feel this can continue to build a young foundation that's going to carry this team for a long time. Both Shaheed and Penning have started each game in which they were available this season, but also were playing in the final year of their contracts. Of 2, Shaheed was the more difficult decision for the organization that is clearly in the midst of a rebuild. He has, at one, an example of the things the Saints did right in the franchise. Shaheed joined the Saints, an undrafted free agent out of Weber State. With the Saints, he blossomed to one of the more electrifying playmakers in the NFL, and he did his thing with the Saints. So we kind of lose the speed that Shaheed represents. But at the end of the day, it's business, right? It's business at the end of the day. The Saints were not going to re-up with Rashid. They weren't going to re-up with the likes of Trevor Penning. We knew that Penning was a bust pick. They didn't develop him properly, and the Saints really invested a lot in the wide receiver room into the future, right? So this season, the number 2 wide receiver, he put up respectable numbers with 44 catches, almost 500 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 11.3 yards per catch, 5 yards below his average. When he goes to Seattle and they get him to stretch the offense with Jackson, it's going to be interesting. New Orleans has been bracing for a departure this season. The Saints traded a 4th round pick shortly before the start of the season for Devon Valley. And they also acquired Trey Palmer via waivers and former Patriots wide receiver Jalen Polk also in the trade. Of those 3, Valley has played this season, but sparingly. Despite the relative premium price the Saints paid to acquire him, he's only played 40% or more of the Saints offensive snaps once this season, never topping the 2 catches for 13 yards in any given game. And that's a part of the narrative that, like, what are you guys doing, right? Palmer has yet to even appear in a game, and it's on the injury reserve. Polk was also a guy you won't see until 2026. So, in Shaheed, the Saints could never capitalize on the potential that he had in terms of stretching the field. And, of course, in his 4th season, Penning was on his 3rd position with the Saints, having operated at the left guard and tackle positions and just relatively failure. He had several injuries that he was dealing with. But the really egregious thing about Penning was the Saints just really kind of screwed the Penning thing, right? They drafted this guy. He was supposed to be the original bookend, and they never truly developed him into anything of substance. So ultimately, he, like Isaiah Foskey and other high picks, the Saints have not developed correctly, right? So it's interesting. What's up, Terrell? Shout out to Terrell and Ray42 on IG. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all hit that like button there. Also, shout out to the fam listening to X. Hit that retweet button, fam, and then the like button as well, the heart button. All right, so as a receiver, Saints made several moves prior to the season to address offensive line depth. Remember, they got Luke Fortner and Asim Richards on August trades. It is also has veteran offensive lineman Dylan Redunce on a 1-year deal, and he needs to go too. At the end of the season, New Orleans drafted 5 players in the 1st round from 2018 to 2022. Check this list out. 3 of them, Penning, Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, did not earn second contracts with the Saints. A 4th receiver, Chris Olave, is still yet to be determined. But this is bittersweet component to what we understand the business side of this, which Kellen Moore told the WWL. There's an opportunity for our team standpoint. We feel like there's some value in moving forward. But the reality is, at the end of the day, is that the Saints, I was surprised that the Saints were able to get anything for Trevor Penning. I was really surprised they were able to get anything for him. You know, I was surprised that guys like Pete Werner, who they basically pulled off the field last week for Danny Stutzman to play. Obviously, you're paying him that kind of money. Does he really have a future with the team? When he's sitting there, and also I can understand why they're pulling him off the field. He missed so many tackles. So I'm thinking him. I'm thinking Penning, and we know Rashid, Penning, perhaps guys like Cesar Ruiz. There are quite a few, you know, that you're thinking. And then Alontae Taylor came really close. So it'll be interesting to see what the Saints do with Alontae Taylor, being that they couldn't trade him. Now, like I said earlier, they could, depending on a certain like players that's hitting that situation when that contract expiring. You know, what do? You gonna let Alontae walk, or do you re-up with Alontae Taylor? The fact that he was tradable, the Saints wanted a higher pick for him, and they said no. And of course, there is a contingent that said that Mickey Loomis was asking too much for some of these guys, right? His asking price was high because there were several players they had that could have been moved, right? But ultimately, the Saints did get several picks to add to the picks that they had currently going into the year. So it's definitely it's going to be a young team, and like I said, competitiveness and competitive is one thing. Competing is another thing, right? Being competitive and competing is a whole nother thing, right? Getting to a space where you're actually a competitor against your rivals, meaning that you are in the top one or two within your division, competing for that crown, for that title, right? So you can have an opportunity to play in the playoffs. You know, we'll see how it all looks, man. But it's quite interesting to see what the Saints have. Period, man. It's just a lot of stuff here. All right. So anyway, shout out to Rashid Shaheed. He's gone, man, and he's gonna go into greener pastures, at least for this year, anyway. All right, let's hit this up. Here's the injury report, man, for today on Thursday, fam. What's going on with the Saints and a few moves. Tali Fuaga was DNP'd with an ankle. Of course, we know that Tali was carted off the last game with a high ankle sprain. So the Saints dealing with injuries and Poe Tali. Tali's been banged up this whole season. He had neck, back, my neck, my back, and now his ankle. So he been dealing with all kind of stuff. Been a rough year for Tali Fuaga, man, to be honest with you. Alvin dealing with an ankle situation. He is limited. Jack Stahl has an ankle issue as well. Taysom has a knee issue but fully practiced. Cam has an ankle but fully practiced. They've had Barry Wesley, who's a veteran offensive lineman who was on the IR, hip issue. He fully practiced. So the Saints bringing Barry Wesley as a possible player to kind of fill in for the Penning spot, as a reserve. Now, of course, Torrey Salah-Simpkins will move up into the starting role, which is very cool to watch him develop. But Barry Wesley ultimately could be possibly the guy they kind of move into as a reserve player for the Saints. We'll see. Jonah Williams also fully practiced with a shoulder issue. They gave Divine Gacho some rest, not injury related. He's been looking terrible this year. I mean, and you can make a laundry list of some of the people that look terrible, but Divine Gacho has looked awful this year. He's looked absolutely dreadful in that Saints defensive line. I mean, he has looked poor, to say the least. But anyway, Brian Bursee's back has an issue, but he was limited as well. And, of course, you look at the Carolina Panthers. They got some stuff going on with them. Rico Dowdle, who's really been bringing them balance at their running attack. And we'll talk about some of these players' family as well. But Rico Dowdle, the former Dallas Cowboys running back, really has found a spot to add balance to the Carolina Panthers attack. He's dealing with a quadricep. He didn't practice Wednesday, and he was limited in Thursday. Also, Chandler Zavala has an elbow issue. He was DNP'd. He's one of the starting guards they have. Latham Ransom, the safety, went from limited to full practice for today with an illness. You see starting offensive guard for them, Damian Lewis, has an oblique issue. He fully practiced. Starting center, Cade Mays, ankle and knee issue, fully practiced. And you can see Princely, the athletic offensive, defensive lineman. You can move him as an edge rusher, linebacker type, fully practiced as well. And you can see a couple other players. Derek Brown, the big monster interior defensive tackle, was limited today with an elbow issue, but you better believe he'll play. And we see Tremaine, the wide receiver, was DNP for Thursday. So this is the complete full Thursday injury list. We got one more injury report to finalize for the final for the matchup against the Carolina Panthers on the road. So with that being said, fam, we're going to keep this thing moving and grooving, baby. Y'all hit that like button as we keep hitting. Let me see if I can find the stats for the family members so y'all can see the stats between these two teams over the last 10 weeks. Are we in week 10 already? Good grief. We are in week 10. It's been a long season, right? All right, 1-8. I want 8-1, but I guess the reality slaps you in the face. 1-8 Saints against the 5-4 Panthers. How about the Carolina Panthers? Have made their way to plus 500 ball. They're 5-4 and competitive. It's been a while for Panther Nation, man. So I know they're very happy. It would be so cool if the Saints can really kind of just dampen their hopes and go to Carolina and get a victory. But once again, we'll go through the keys to victory and we'll go over the team and see what we can do. I'll give 10 keys to victory after the breakdown, family, the Saints need to win, of course, the matchup. All right, scoring. If you look at the Saints are averaging 15 points a contest, fam. That's almost dead last in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers at 19, which is 27th. So we have two very low-scoring offensive teams that have issues and problems and whatnot, and it's going to be interesting for the Saints to find themselves. Right? We have some. We don't have Rashid there anymore, so Devon Valley will get an extended look. We have to stretch the field. Also, another guy we were trying to trade, Brandon Cooks. I guess nobody really wanted him. But then, of course, you look at the opposition scoring, like what we giving up defensive-wise. The Saints are allowing 27 points a game and scoring 15. That 27 a game is 24th, tied for 24th in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers are giving up 22 for 16. So both of these teams are very, looking kind of stink in terms of that offensive scoring and defensive scoring. So I guess whoever commits the most mistakes, right? Total offense. The Saints average 287 yards per game. That's 29th in the NFL. The Panthers are doing 310, almost 311 a game for 21st. And you see the offensive rushing stats for the Saints are 27. The Saints at one point was rushing over 100 yards. That is completely collapsed to about 89 yards per game, which is 27. And look what Carolina is doing from a running perspective. They are hashing out that thing with 140 yards a game running the ball. That is good for 5th in the entire NFL. And they're doing a really good job at that thing. Like I told you about Marcus Dowdell. The running back Dowdell doing, I say Marcus Dowdell, my goodness. I mean, Rico Dowdell. Rico Dodo. He's a guy that's really doing it, man. I got the throwback Saints thinking about. But the passing offense for the Saints is 197.6, which is 22nd in the NFL, is 171 by Carolina. So the Saints do have a positive there, right? And, of course, you look at the total defense. We're giving up 333.3, wow, 333, which is 18th in the NFL. The Panthers are 316, almost 317, which is 13. The rushing defense, Saints allowing over 129 yards to be ran against them, and that's 24th in the NFL. The Panthers only giving up $111, which is 18. The Saints surrendering almost 204 yards per game, which is middle of the pack in the NFL. 205 by the Panthers. So those statistics are secondary-wise are pretty close, right? You can see the punt return situation there with the Saints at 8, how that'll be effective with Rashid Shaheed not here. The Panthers not really good at that. Or kick returns, right? Saints are 29th there, 28th in terms of kickoff returns in average. The turnover margin right here, you can see the Saints are -4, which is tied for 23rd in the NFL, -4th as well. And you can see they're tied with the Panthers. So there you go. Time of possession is very close. You can see all the rest of the statistics. The Saints have 68 penalties, for 465 yards. That's ridiculous. And Carolina has 51 for 409. That is the statistics that the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers have put together through 10 weeks of NFL football, right? Very interesting. All right, let's kind of jump right into it, man, and kind of go into with who this team is. You led by Bryce Young, a young quarterback. It's actually doing a pretty decent job this year, right? You can see the maturation in Bryce Young game. Through 8 games, Bryce has completed 149 passes for 61.1 completion percentage, almost 1,400 yards throwing it. But the crazy part is they don't have an explosive offense, even though they have the potentiality. Bryce Young's only averaging like 6 yards per throw. 11 touchdown tosses against 6 interceptions. He's been sacked 12 times. He has a rating of 81.5. So you can see the potentiality, like they're waiting for a breakout. They do have some really exciting weapons like Ted McMillan and XL and a few of these guys, Mr. Coker. They have some very interesting weapons. Even I like both their tight ends, man, Sanders and Trumbull. So they have a very interesting set of skilled players in a decent line, but they're not, there's still something there. They're still ironing out something in terms of waiting or having the explosives that they need to kind of break open. But they are 5-4, despite what we've seen the statistics and the averaging offensively and giving up defensively. So that usually you would be the opposite. You wouldn't be 5-4. You would usually be sub 500 with giving up more on the defense in terms of scoring than scoring on the offense. So that's a very interesting anomaly, to be honest with you. The top rusher you can see is Rico Dowdy, who has 9 games, 131 carries for 735 yards. He's doing a phenomenal job for them. He's averaging over 5 yards per catch, over 5.5 yards per run. 4 rushing touchdowns, and by himself, he averages almost 82 yards rushing. Now, he does have an injury that he's dealing with, but at the same time, I expect Rico to be there. He's really been a godsend to them, to be honest with you. And Shough, who's the hard-nosed runner that we are accustomed to, not having a great year. Shough is averaging about 3.6 yards per carry there, but you can see Rico is the guy that's really kind of leading that offense helping them balance their attack. Let's just say it like that for them. So, of course, we know Bryce Young is interested. So if you take a look at Rico's numbers, it's something to be respected, because we think in terms of stopping these guys, and we don't. It's not because we're tired. Early on, they get gashed, and you're going to have to slow this man down. 735 yards he has on the rushing attack. That's 3rd in the NFL. His carries are top 10. So we can't overlook this man. We have to be able to do something about him. And, of course, we know that Bryce Young is going to be a major component in what they do as well, because he has the potential to kind of scramble and move around on you and make throws. But, like we do, we've done a pretty decent job of corralling Bryce Young in the past. But can we kind of emulate some of that on the road against this team? That is yet to be determined. Also, if you see in the receiving game, Ted McMillan, they took a skilled player in Ted McMillan. He has 41 catches for 558 yards. He's averaging over 13 yards per catch and only 2 touchdowns for Ted McMillan. XL Xavier Legette is bringing up the next one with 20 catches actually for him on 37 targets, 2 touchdowns with a 9.1 yard average. And even Rico, the running back, is their, I guess he is their 4th or tied 4th with several other players in terms of what they're doing in their passing attack, because he does catch the ball out the backfield as well. He has 15 catches for 132 yards with a touchdown. Also, Tommy Trouble, the tight end, is there, 18 grabs and a touchdown for 130 yards. Jatavion Sanders is there with 15 catches. So they kind of use those guys, both of those tight ends, to kind of move. I like Jatavion Sanders a lot. I think he's as soon as they stabilize the offense, man, he should be a big part of it. And they got quite a few people. Jalen Coker hadn't gotten going yet, but he's another young wide receiver that we need to be paying attention to. He's 6'3", has decent speed and hands, and can be a problem. And with our secondary is going to have to get ready to play. Of course, if you look at their defense, the top tacklers on the defensive side is Roseboom, the linebacker, 77 total tackles for him, and the top sacker there is Derek Brown, the inside man. Ashawn Robinson is 2.5 sacks with Nick Scorton and Wharton. Those guys have 2 apiece, but the key leader there is the Derek Brown, who's a sensational defensive lineman that's really tough to deal with. So you can see a few of their guys there. Morick, the safety, Wallace, the linebacker, Nick Scott, the safety, Mike Jackson, the cornerback. Those line up your top tackles are guys that are impact players that you have to watch out for. You look at the interceptions, not much intercepting is going on with this team, to be quite honest with you, fam. But they are opportunistic. And a lot of people know that the linebacker level, people talk about linebackers being an issue with the Carolina Panthers. But you see Roseboom leading the team. He's making some plays there. And they're just trying to change it up and be more aggressive in their approach to kind of get at the Saints. And we have to kind of do it a little differently, man. And ultimately, offense has to kind of give us, offense has to attack. We got to attack and do something different. I think some of the stuff we were running is kind of boring, the little draw play before we get anything going. We got to work on it at the point of impact, especially on the line of scrimmage. We need to move the pile and push. But I'm going to be honest with you, Derek Brown's a major problem. And the way our offensive line has been playing, he could blow up everything down there and just funk it up for us. So we will just have to monitor that. And, of course, that's some of the people that you got going on right there to kind of talk about, man, on that side of it. Let's take a look at the depth chart here. You can see Brian Young and Rico, the running back. Like I say, he's dealing with an issue, but they can run Chuper Hubbard in there to kind of do a dual running back thing. Every now and again, you might see a 10. But Ted McMillan, XL, and Coker, all those guys. And, of course, Horn, and they got Hunter Renfro there as well. Trimble and Jatavion Sanders are the tight ends that they use. You can see Icky, Damian Lewis, Mays, Zavala's dealing with injury, and Taylor Mouton is there up front. Defensively, you can see the rest of their players with Wharton, Robinson, Brown's dealing with an issue but still dangerous. Nick Scorton, who's a pretty good young player for him. Rosenboom trying to solidify inside with Wallace. DJ Wanham is there. And then you can see the secondary with J.C. Horn and all these other guys, Mike Jackson, Nick Scott, these interesting secondary that we could probably kind of throw at and see if we can get something going there. So that's some of the people that we dealing with here on the team. And like I said, when you want to talk about beating Carolina, and Carolina's actually playing decent ball right now, but they could be beat. But the reality is the Saints have to be able to get after the quarterback, and that has been something that we have not been able to do consistently with the team. We have not been able to consistently line up. I don't know what's going on with Staley's defensive calls, but it's not an adjustment thing where if you don't get pressure up front, this really flimsy zone they operate where one guy's playing 5 yards deep and another guy's playing 10 yards deep. And you might as well forfeit the game if you're going to play like that, because you got to, at this point, if you're 1-8, there's no need to sit up here and baby doll these guys. These young guys, let them play man, let them play a little dirty, let them put their hands on the cornerback and let them make something happen. We've seen in the game with Alante Taylor on the goal line against Devontae Adams, he didn't even jam him. Devontae Adams stepped into it, went right in his route with no problem, caught the touchdown in the end zone. Alante Taylor just walks off the field. Like ain't nothing wrong here, nothing to see here. It's just how do you what's going on here? If I can't jam you there, then when can I? You got to disrupt the timing between the quarterback and the wide receiver. So I really have issues with Staley's system and what he's doing here. I think it is incredibly weak. We need to change and adapt something else. We need to be more aggressive. We have to allow these young guys to put hands on these wide receivers, not let them get free releases into their route tree. I think that is incredibly important, that we have to make that adjustment, man. That's not one of the keys to victory. It's just one of the things that I'm throwing out there. But anyway, let's kind of jump right into it, fam, to the keys of victory, man, to talk about for the Saints to get a victory against the Carolina Panthers, right? And I kind of got my little stuff typed up, but, here it goes, right? So, number one, they have to establish the run early. We got to establish the run. We know Alvin dealing with an issue. Our battering ram, that is Kendre Miller, is down, so we don't have him in there. But we do have Devin Neal and others. and perhaps Taysom Hill could be utilized in the running attack, right? We're not really using Taysom too much as a wide receiver or even a tight end. He's not catching the passes. Can we incorporate Taysom Hill's physicality into the running attack where we're missing with Kendre Miller? He had one of the longest, probably the longest run of the season for the Saints in this last week's game when he ran for 29 yards up the field. We damn sure could use Taysom's physicality in a running attack. Maybe we can adapt that and kind of address that and put him in the mix with Kamara and Neal and have them like a trio of running backs where we can switch things up there. We definitely have to do that and dictate the tempo and protect Tyler Shough. That's what it's going to come down to because Carolina's blitz-heavy defense, they coming. Right. Number 2, we got to win the trenches. Well, I know Eric is down. I know he's going to be out of this game. We just traded Penning out of here, and Cesar has been struggling, and Kelvin Banks is a rookie. So it's a lot of flux going on there, a lot of inconsistent stuff going on out there. But regardless of who the Saints put out there, I know Torrey Simpkins is going to be one of those guys. Perhaps Akeem Richards plays on the opposite tackle position. With Tali being out, but regardless who plays, they have to be able to win in the trenches because it's not going to be easy because Derek Brown is a tough one. Derek Brown is very difficult to deal with. He got a little injury that he's dealing with, but he's a force. Like I said, he leads their team in sacks, and the guy is a hell of a defensive lineman, period. And you're going to need to be on your best game to deal with him. Number 3, to attack Carolina's secondary. We got to attack that secondary. We got to test them. Take deep shots to Chris Olave. We know Rashid's gone now, so somebody else has to step in and step up. Step in, step up. That's Divine Valley. We're calling you to the pulpit. Divine Belly, we're calling you to the pulpit. We telling you to come on down and make some plays for the Saints. They gave you 2 firsts. They gave up 2 picks, not first round, but they gave up 2 picks to secure the talents of Valley, and we're in week 10, and we haven't seen him even crack the top 3. Now that Rashid Shaheed's going, we should see the big 6'4" or 5" wide receiver with 4.3 speed. I don't understand why we haven't been seeing him more and why we're seeing more of Cooks than we're seeing more of Valley. You know, even if he's kind of struggling to a degree, that don't mean anything. All of them are struggling. It'll just be one huge struggle party. He'll be in the midst of them. Hell, all of them struggling. All of them struggling. Rashid was struggling. Juwan Johnson was struggling. Alvin was struggling. All of them. It's a struggle party. Why not add him into the mix? One more struggling ass player ain't gonna mean nothing on a 1-18. You might as well let him play. You know, make it count for something. So he needs to be brung in there and, you know, going at that Panthers secondary. So, you know, in the game, it was a segment in the game that I really started to watch as they started attacking downfield. The touchdown drive with that Juwan Johnson jumped into the end zone. The Saints started forcing the ball downfield, right? They actually had routes where instead of having it run 4 wideouts and then 3 of the 4 wideouts have comeback routes within 10 yards. I was like, this is a 10-yard it's a 10-yard ass offense. Yeah, 4 routes and all of them running and within 10. I'm like, what? That's an incredible waste of the speed you say you was going to use, and you have. I can understand you doing that if you ain't got no speed to help, but if you got wide receivers that's 4.3, you might as well have some verticality. Hell, you might as well dive bomb their asses every chance that you get, I say. Just dive bomb them. You know, you'll find you got to get rhythm some kind of way. You got to take shots. So we need Divine Valley to show his worth. To show his worth, we need him to step up in there. Number 4, utilize the quick passing concepts. Tyler Shough's rhythm passing, slants, quick outs, keep the pocket clean and sustain drives. You know you missing starting center McCoy. Luke Fortner has done a decent job there. I got to give it to him. Fortner's done okay. He's done all right. Now you'll have your right tackle is going to be missing for maybe a couple of weeks or more, so you'll have your backup there. You got Cesar Ruiz there. He struggles every week. You're going to have Torrey Simpkins. He's a young undrafted lineman there. He's going to learn just like Kelvin Banks is going to learn. So the key to it, so we don't get Tyler Shough toe up, is that you're going to have that. You got to get that ball out on time. And like I said, when they line up to blitz you, Tyler, you're gonna have to keep this dude's 6'5". You're gonna have to. You see the field extremely well at 6'5". He's standing up looking. I know you're seeing that. You're seeing everything. You're gonna have to look past those blitzes because when they line up, they're gonna put them on you like they did in a Rams game, and you can't drop your eyes there and try to force the ball to Rashid Shaheed, and he got two defenders on his back. No, when they got a guy running to the left with his hand up and no safety over there, you're gonna have to be able to see that, bro. If they picking you with the second round pick, you're gonna have to get the ball out when they're blitzing and they're sending their people there. That means that's one-on-one matchups. You have to identify, and you got to give your guy an opportunity to catch the ball. You got to get that ball out of there. So, number 5, convert in the red zone. This is another point of contention for our mighty Who Dat Nation that we want the team to focus on, even though they say they focus on it every week with very limited success. But the Saints must finish drives. They rank in the bottom 10 in red zone TD percentage coming into this week. So they have to convert in the red zone. Winning in the red zone is winning in the game, period. If you're winning in the red zone the majority of the time, you're going to win the game. Winning means converting and getting touchdowns as opposed to field goals. We have to figure that out, and we have to attack. Even if we can use some of our bigger players, I think it will help Tyler Shough. Like it will help anybody if you have a 6'5" Veli or a 6'8" Matavo. You're 1-8. Matavo needs to be in there. Steed, Stall, whatever his name is, number 8, need to come off the field. I'm tired of seeing that guy miss blocks. I'm just sick of that guy. I'm just really sick of him. You might as well put Matavo in there. Let Matavo, he's 6'8". He can help you in the red zone. He's 6'8". I mean, you got a 6'5" wide receiver and a 6'8" tight end that you drafted. You need to put that man in the game. Talking about we struggling in the red zone. Why? You got 2 guys that can be on a basketball team right there. You need to put that guy out there. Another thing, number 6, contain Bryce Young. Force the second force him into turnovers, right? Force him into kind of we need to force and collapse that pocket and give him some disguises. Show different looks, confuse them. And then kind of contain them, do our best to contain them. I know the Saints will be using that concept where they'll be sending 4 guys and dropping guys into coverage in the soft zone type thing they like to run. But ultimately, we're going to have to get the Bryce Young and kind of shake him up. If we can get the Bryce Young, shake him up, he'll give you a turnover. Oh, yeah, he'll give you a turnover. He'll throw the ball there, but you don't want him to gain the rhythm on you. But if we can get to him early, we can kind of shake him up. Number 7, stop the run early. Carolina leans on Hubbard. They really do. They shoot for Hubbard, and now Rico's there. He's their top guy with over 700 yards. They're leaning on that running attack. We have to stop that and make them one-dimensional, right? That'll stopping them and forcing that running attack dead in its tracks. That sets the tone for the Saints. Now, once again, the Saints have been struggling against stopping the run. But like I said, man, I just find it very interesting that we stink there. Nate Shepard should be benched. I just really think so. I think Nate Shepard shouldn't be starting at the tackle position. I think Divine Gacho's really stunk, but Nate Shepard has looked worse than him to me, right? Even though I see Divine Gacho constantly getting double teamed, Nate Shepard isn't. He can't beat the one-on-one. He's horrible. If we traded Bink Saunders, we should have traded. I said, like, man, if you trading him, he should be the next thing smoking. I really think we should use somebody else. Let's throw somebody else in there and let them get developed. Whether it's Christian Boyd or John Ridgway, who's healthy now, who's over the last couple of weeks was a healthy scratch for the Saints. Guys like that Saints gave capital up to bring a John Ridgway here from the Commanders, right? They ultimately got the pick back in another way, but still in all, if he's here, let's see if we can mix him in the run support. Let's get these other 300-pounders involved, especially if they're younger players with upside. Let's get these guys involved and see if we can get this run stopped correctly. Get this run stopped. Let's switch these other guys out of here, right? Number 8, dominate the time of possession. How do you do that? You got long, methodical drives that wear the Panthers' front down, right? And while you're doing that, you keep your defense fresh. Long, methodical drives with a rookie quarterback that's 6'5". The offense seems to be stagnant. You watch the tape. We did the Patreon this week. You watch the film and you see some plays where they run. It doesn't look like it's whatever they're doing. It just doesn't look cohesive. It doesn't look synergistic. It doesn't look like it's something they've been working on since preseason into weeks 1 through into weeks 10. They're practicing all this week. And I want to see finally, after weeks and months of practice, that you find a set of plays that people are comfortable with and execute them properly, even if it's 4 or 5 plays to build around that you run really well. We have to locate these group of plays so we can at least have some type of comfortability with our offense. It just seems like we're not really too much comfortable with any type of play or even whether it's the screen or whatever. We just don't seem comfortable with pretty much anything offensively, which is very weird because usually you will find something that you like and then you would kind of build around it. It's just so strange to see that not occurring with them. Not saying that won't be the case this week, but I think it'll really kind of take the edge off a lot of time when you can have guys, we just go out and play football. Look, you're not going to compete for anything, right? You already stink. Let's just go out there and just find some chemistry here. Let's find some building blocks for our offense to function behind, right? That should be the order of the day. The Saints need to find something they can build the offense around in terms of plays and all this kind of stuff. It's just radically ridiculous and inconsistent and shaky as hell to watch the offense because the players, they don't appear to know who to block. I've seen Juwan Johnson blow blocks. He don't know who he's blocking. He's standing in front of a defender, then runs past the defender to go and get a guy behind him and don't even block him. What's your purpose? What are you doing? But this is my $10 million tight end over here. But this is the problem. It's not just him. I've seen Alvin do the same thing. Alvin, like, with his hands up, like, what are we doing? So that's incredibly embarrassing and totally unprofessional. So at some point with all the winning, you would at least find something that worked for you offensively is all I'm saying. Number 9, avoid costly penalties, right? Pre-snap errors, killing the Saints, right? We've had penalties. We got like 60-something penalties this year. It's really ridiculous. And that speaks to the discipline, right? Discipline is crucial when you're on the road against a divisional opponent. You don't want to have a bunch of pre-snap penalties and things that kick yourself in the butt in their building to help them beat you. You want to make it as difficult as possible. So we avoid these costly penalties, these pre-snaps, miscues, all this kind of stuff. Play a smarter brand of football, smarter brand. And of course, the final key, 10, is win the turnover battle, which speaks to discipline once again. Saints have to be able to do that. They have to win that turnover margin, and that also controls the momentum of the game. Take possession of the field by taking away the ball from your adversary, and then, if we can be so good to convert it into touchdown, if we can get a touchdown off the penalties, or we can force turnovers and then capitalize, that will be really good when we're in their building. So this is a lot of stuff, my keys to victory. I know a lot of this stuff that I talked about in the keys of victory, we have not seen the Saints do consistently, and I understand that. But still in all, those are the keys. We have to be able to execute properly to win the football game. So at this point, you're not going in there. The team is 1-8. The best you can do offensively is find plays that work for you and try to establish an identity. What are we? What are the Saints? The Saints, what can anybody answer that for me? What are the New Orleans Saints? Are the New Orleans Saints a running team? Are they a passing team? What are we? Kellen Moore has been here for 10 weeks. He has not established an identity for this team. He has not established an identity in which the team can play behind. And why this is also when we talk about team discipline and other principles, I really don't want to hear Justin Reed get to the podium. You just got here, bro. Save me all this other stuff about finger pointing. We don't need no finger pointers. No, no. You need finger pointers, dog. You're not a captain, man. You're not a captain. You just got here, bro. And listen, man, Justin, let me let you know something, bro. Don't come with the placation talk. That don't work well in the city of New Orleans or to the mighty Who Dat Nation. We don't want to hear that, man. You just got here, so maybe you don't know. So let me kind of brief you on that. We don't want to hear that. That's why the leaders, the supposed leader guys, which are Cam and even DeMario Davis, they don't come talking to you every week because they know that you're going to get your issue. You're going to get chastised trying to talk at us about not needing guys. You need somebody to finger point. Finger pointing is not a bad thing when you are 1-8 team. You have to find out what's going on, who the repeat offenders, and stop them. If guys are doing their jobs and doing it to 100%, they'll take offense for somebody broad stroking them and saying, y'all all this, that, and the third. Well, hold on. I'm putting in the work. I'm studying. Right? It's only a team when that situation occurs. But boy, when the money come out, it's I, me, myself, and I. The line stops at the money. But the reality is, man, listen, bro, don't come on here with that, man. Go somewhere else. Go take a shower and take your ass home after the game. We don't want to hear all that about the fan. Yeah, y'all need finger pointing. Y'all stink, man. Y'all non-competitive. Y'all getting blown out, bro. Don't come up here. Go talk to your people. What you did is don't come here with lip service to us. Go talk to your damn teammates and dress them down. Get them straight. It's offensive. This is offensive to watch this kind of stuff happen. Well, guys collecting a check and they're not even going all the way out. They're not even playing anything competitive. They're not even competitive. They don't even give a damn. That's offensive. You'll never get me on that train. You'll never get me to buy into that. That might have worked with somebody else, but I keep telling these players over and over again, when you come down here and all of them figure it out, whether it was David Griffin and all these other cats and players too, when you come to New Orleans, it's a different thing. Maybe people elsewhere swallow that stuff, but we don't play that down here. You don't come with the bull crap about this, that, and the third, dog. Go talk to your teammates and tell them to tackle better. Go talk to your teammates and go tell them to practice more. Go talk to your teammates and tell them get to practice early and leave late. That's what you do. Don't come to us and tell us about finger pointing and all of this, man. Get your ass out of here with that. So, I mean, like I said, man, I miss me. DeMario was doing that, and we shut him down with all that, man. Don't come with that preacher talk, bro, and y'all failing. You know, you want to impress us? Get your fucking check back. How about that? They'll never do that. Get your check back because you don't deserve to get paid for how y'all playing. This is an atrocity and offense to us, man, to watch this bullshit down here, man. No finger pointers. We don't need we need solutions. How you going to find a solution, bro, if you don't locate the problem? What you talking about, man? How do you find what's wrong if you don't go and point it out and find out what's going on? How you going to find what's wrong? Problem is you don't want to find what's wrong. Because you'll find your ass is one of the main offenders with missed tackles and bad reads and everything. I see you on the film. Like I said, man, it's just these guys it's just ridiculous to me, man. It's ridiculous, man. Stealing money from us, man. You know, we already got a dumb owner who don't know what she doing, and we got to deal with players who that we gonna just sit and eat off of them. Nobody ain't upset. No player only meetings. How about that, Justin? Won't you go have a fucking players only meeting with them guys? Oh, it's my bad. It's only 10 weeks in. You're not serious, man. And we see it all. They did not have a seat. They didn't even have a players only meeting. We 10 weeks in and they 1-8. They didn't do it when they was 2 in the hole, 3 in the hole, 4 in the hole, 5 in the hole. But you going to come and talk to us. Miss us with that. Go talk to your people. Tell them make the catches. Tell them make the blocks. Tell them get there early and stay late. Tell them earn their check and make the Who Dat Nation proud. That's what you do. And don't come and talk to us until after you talk to your people on the field. That's what you do. That's what a real leader does. and not a bureaucrat or some fake dude trying to keep some crap going so they can collect checks off of us. It won't happen. We're going to call it out all the time. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I do, and I'm going to continue to do. So anyway, man, listen, let me go ahead on and show y'all this little old skit right here from this CBS. They had a Ryan Wilson of CBS was kind of picking for the Saints, and they already doing the mock draft stuff for the Saints. And if the Saints hold that first rounder, this is who they think are going to be the people, or who you gonna pick for the Who Dat Nation. They're thinking you're gonna end up getting somebody. This is very interesting. I want y'all to tell me what y'all think about this.
Not a world unless something drastically changes where he's going to be the quarterback if the Saints maintain this first overall pick. I have them going with Fernando Mendoza, who's been absolutely balling out at Indiana. He has taken his game to the next level. He's one of these guys we talked about in the summer. Wanted to see him make those steps once he got to Indiana and playing Big Ten football, and he's done that and then some. And a lot of times, almost every time, when you're drafted first overall, you're going to a terrible football team. Guess what? Mendoza has some experience playing on a bad football team. Last year at Cal, that offensive line was horrendous. The offensive line will actually be a little bit improved in New Orleans. The playmakers around them will be in question in the defense, but I think that's the Saints' best plan of action right now.
All right, so there he is. That's brother from CBS. That guy got to have a record in how many mock drafts he does. But he has the Saints. He says they should take Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. You can see his numbers right there. So is that? Let me ask y'all this: is what we doing, family? Let's say if the Saints bottom out, they already bottomed out. But let's say they hold on to the number 1 pick. What do you guys think they should do with it? Let's hear from you. What should the Saints do? Is Fernando Mendoza the guy? Despite the fact the Saints just took a quarterback the first time this high since Archie Manning in the 70s. Should Mendoza be the next guy? Now, listen, it's not the same as like when you took Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler. When you go to 2 and up to 1, it's a whole nother thing. Should they take it? Me personally, I don't think this is it'll be a wasted pick because, number one, Kellen Moore believes in Tyler Shough, is what he's telling us. But the issue with the Saints, I'm going to say this again. I think it's offensive line. I'm going to just be honest with you. Now, of course, they can use a wide receiver. Of course, they can use a corner man. Of course, they can use another linebacker. Of course, they can use an edge rusher. Of course, they can. But you're not going to win anything unless you build the trenches. Right now, you can see what's going on with your trenches right now, can't you? You're right. You're having a lot of problems. Interiorly speaking, like the Trevor Penning thing, even though we like Torres Simpkins, we still have to give him some competition on that left guard position. Cesar Ruiz is not the answer at the right guard position. And Eric McCoy, when he's good, when he's healthy, he's good. But McCoy is not the same McCoy that we've seen the last 3 years. He's missed a lot of games over the last 4 games. Like I said, it's 20-plus games in 4 years. That's a lot of games to miss with the injuries mounting up on him. And you have to start looking at a replacement for McCoy when he gets ready to leave, when his contract is up, right? We're going to have to be able to look at that, because if we cannot run the football and protect the quarterback, it's going to be a long, bad time for whoever you got throwing back there, whether it's Mendoza or whether it's Tyler Shough or whomever you get. It's going to be difficult. The Saints have to do something with their offense and defensive lines. And also, I don't know what's going on with it. You study the tape. It's different, the level of aggression. Like, we watch some offensive linemen really get after you, right? And they really maul out. They have a maul and dominate mentality. I don't see that in the Saints offensive linemen. I really don't see that. They don't look like I'm going to destroy the defensive lineman person in front of me. They don't look like that. They look more like they about to escort you to the moonlight ball and y'all gonna do some dancing. That's what they look like. It don't look nothing physical and aggressive to me. You know, it don't look like they coming to destroy and to knock you on, you do all this kind of stuff consistently. The mentality, they look really kind of soft. You know, they're not a dominating line. And I'm saying I know Kelvin Banks Jr. I seen how he played in Texas. He's that kind of player. I seen how Tolly played in college. He's that type of player. So what kind of instruction are they getting from this offensive line coach? They have them less aggressive, it appears, right? I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, it definitely does bear some investigating to see that. But more like what I'm seeing, looking at this team, trenches are necessary. We have to be able to rebuild the inside interior of both these defense and offensive line. Look what we're giving up, 120 plus yards a game being ran on with teams just running, gashing the Saints, just gashing them. And it ain't the fact that they're tired. They're doing it to them early when they first step on the field. There is no mentality or saying you're not going to run on us. You're not going to. It is none of that. It's just like these guys are a pile of losers. They just run through you, get up and go back to the line. They just walking out the strain. Nobody playing with no toughness. Nobody playing with no ferocity. Nobody playing with any pride and saying, hey, man, you're not going to do that. Nobody pointing at the other guy saying, man, wake the hell up. This kind of stuff. You don't see none of that. Guys just going through the motion, cashing checks. We need a physical presence in the interior of the defensive line where you can't run on them like that. And then for the offensive line, we're going backwards. And I know McCoy's not there, but even when Eric was there, he was getting stood up. And I don't know, I think he was still hurt. He had to have been, because he didn't look nearly as good as, that I'm used to seeing from him. But still in all, like I said, we're not running the ball very well interiorly from the offensive line standpoint, and we're not stopping the run. That both gears to the defense and offensive lines need help, whether you do that in free agency. And I don't know, I got the feeling that the Saints are not going to be super shoppers in free agency, right? Word on the street is that they're trying to dial back on the money. That's the word that I'm getting from the Pelican side of things, that they don't want to spend as much money, right? They're dialing back on the money because Griffin, who was there before on the Pelican side, spent a lot of money. Now they come using Joe, and Joe, they were very liberal spenders when David Griffin was there. Then they fired him, and now they got Joe, and now they're conservative. But that don't stop with just the Pelicans. That philosophy flows to the Saints. It's the same leadership group. So they spent a lot of money in the previous regime under Dennis Allen, right? That's why they didn't want to fire him, because, you got to pay him all this kind of stuff. But still in all, that car situation was very expensive. So the approach now, as you can see, both of them is like, can we build with guys out of the draft or doing this, because it appears to be a cheaper route, but you have to develop the talent. When you get free agents that come here, somebody else developed them. And you just merely have to slide them into your system. But when you picking them, you have to pick the right guy, and you have to make sure he fits your system, and you have to be able to then take this player and put him into your system successfully on time, because you only have 4 years. 5 years with a first-round guy, and the rest of them is 4 years. So you on the clock soon as you get these guys. So you have to make sure you pick the proper guy and put him into your system and acclimate him into it. Like, drafting ain't enough. Look, we had Isaiah Foskey, we had Trevor Penning. If you look at the tape, they had talent. So what happened? Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport, what happened? You see what I'm saying? We're missing on that. So that's why I'm kind of cautiously moving about when we see all the Saints collecting draft assets. I gave them credit for the draft they did this year, because the majority of all those players made the team. All of them made it's. We still have the defensive end, Fadil Diggs, who should get some. Him and Matavo should get opportunities to play. But even the 7th-round draft picks made the team. A couple of them on the practice squad right now. But at some point during the year, they both were on the active roster. Now that the team is going into a developmental approach, we need to use those guys. So the Jake Stalls and all these guys need to lose minutes. So we can develop Matavo, we can develop Fadil Diggs, we can develop these guys for next year, and then they bring in another class. So like I said, the Saints are going to look a lot different next year insofar as all of the big money veterans that really ain't doing too much now, the DeMarios, the Cams, and all these kind of guys, they're on the back end of their careers. They're not as effective to the winning now anyway. So those guys will fade out. Taysom Hill, Foster Monroe, those contracts, they'll fall off, and then you'll have a bunch of younger guys, which means it's going to be even more mistake-prone football. It's going to be more mistake-prone football. But like I said, we have to see if they can develop these players that we're getting picks for into something once the draft roll around. So I disagree with the CBS analysts' take on Fernando Mendoza for the team. I don't think Kellen Moore is going to say, hey man, listen, we need to take Mendoza from Indiana. What about Tyler Shough? We're going to put them together, make them compete. I don't think he's going to do that. He ain't going to do that. He's going to say Tyler's this guy, and he's going to try to put pieces together for Tyler so he can have weapons going into the future. He's basically handcuffed himself to Tyler Shough. And the Saints are not going to be liberal with taking first-round picks. They're not going to – it's first time in since the 70s they took a quarterback in the second round. You think they're going to take a first one the next year? That's just not how they roll, right? All right. But, yeah, I think at the end of the day, they need to get linemen. They need linemen up front, man. Cesar Ruiz is not the answer. You need a left guard, and McCoy keeps getting hurt. Defensively, you're getting ran on, period. Divine Gacho, you're probably not going to get rid of him right on. You still got, a couple of years on his contract. But Nate Shepard's not the answer. So you got to find some help there because you can't allow them to run on you, and you still have to be able to run on them. So line help is my estimation before we even talk about a wide receiver. Don't do you good looking at a wide out if the defensive lineman breaking through your line and knocking your quarterback on his tail. That's just how I see it. All right, big ups to y'all, man. Darlene says no. She said no. We need offensive. Yeah, we need offensive line. I agree with you. Slim say I agree with you, Q. All right, that's Anthony says not a lineman. You don't want a lineman, Anthony. Tim says trade back. We need everything. Trade back, okay. Yeah. All right, James says maybe we can get one of those draft hauls like Dicker gave for retribution. Okay, I don't think you find a team crazy enough to do what we did, right? I don't think you're going to find somebody crazy. That guy was insane, man. That Mike Dicker gave up. He really thought that all he needed was a running back, and that would make the Saints team. That guy was insane. He was out of it. And the crazy part about it is, fam, he didn't have to do that. We had Edgerrin James in that draft. They had Edge. The Indianapolis Colts end up with Edgerrin James. He was in that draft. So if whoever, we didn't have to go that route. We didn't have to give up all those people, We really didn't. I would have been happy with Edgerrin James, to be honest with you. And then Ricky Williams, it was just a mismatch. The man had kind of weird behavior patterns. He'd be sitting in the press conference. He'd put a helmet on with a dark visor, and he'd be doing that. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Then Mike Dicker was kind of weird. When you could obviously see the man wasn't comfortable, Ricky Williams was comfortable. But I still don't see how they talk Ricky Williams into putting on a wedding dress and Mike Dicker standing next to him with a tux on. I don't know how he decided that. I don't know. That was so weird. Why did he do that? And then another one was Mike Dicker put on a roster wig and stood next to him. You remember that? I was like, this guy is insane. This guy crazy. Y'all remember that? Put one in the chat if y'all remember that, man. That's crazy. All right, but yeah. Blue says Tyler ain't it, bro. It's Tyler is it. He's Kellen Moore's quarterback. The thing about it is he needs time to develop like any quarterback. Like from early on, I see him. He looks a little. I ain't gonna say confident, but he looks a little. I guess I don't want to say nervous. He has some positive parts of his game, but he got a lot of work to do. When the blitz coming, he's still showing his eyes dropping to that level. You know what I'm saying? Dropping down when that blitz coming. And as a big quarterback, you got to stand tall in the pocket and deliver the ball. And that's still that psychological thing happens when like a guy like him, who has so many issues and injuries, from a psychological standpoint, that has to still weigh on his mind when the blitzes are coming, right? So it's just, you that's another thing you just have to deal with. You kind of have to coax that out of them. I don't know. All right, yeah, there you go. That's the ones. Thank y'all, fam. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, that was crazy. That whole thing with Mike Dicker, Ricky Williams agreeing to put on a wedding dress. That boy put on a whole wedding dress, and Mike Dicker stood next to him with a tux on. And I think that was a Sports Illustrated shoot. Why would he agree to that? Why would you? That's not that to me was like, why would you even do that, bro? Then it was the one with him putting the roster wig on, standing next to him. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. Ricky Williams, I'd have snatched that damn wig. What you doing? I snatched it off his head. Oh, man. It's just crazy work. We had some insane people running our team, man. We still do. We had some insane people. All right. Anyway, man, listen. Yeah, 8 picks for Ricky Williams. Yeah, that was something interesting. But the interesting thing is like, Uptown Stud 2010 says, I don't trust Mendoza. Yeah, this is what the CBS guy said. Also, I want to say Mel Kiper and them did one too, family. Mel Kiper and them did a mock draft today too. Or was it yesterday? Well, in the last couple of days, they did a mock where the other guy that's probably one of the most, Phil Yates did it. Phil Yates was the one that does a lot of the mock drafts and stuff. He did one with Mel Kiper, and I think Phil Yates and Mel Kiper picked Mendoza. Well, at least Phil Yates did. He picked Mendoza for the Saints. I'm like, nah, it's not going to happen. And like, you guys don't know the IQ of the team. They're not gonna take a second round of last year and the first round of this year, and they got so many needs. They need help on the offensive line. They need help there. And they got to tell you, fam, that the direction the Saints are moving in from a monetary standpoint. If they're accruing all of these picks, this year showed you they're not going to be big time players in the free agent market. They're not going to be big time players. That seems like to be a conservative thing that's kind of going between the Saints and the Pelicans organization. Remember, it's the same leadership group. So if they're going the collect the draft picks route and drafting, that's the cheaper route of the two, as opposed to going into free agency and spending money on a developed player to help you right away. So they know they're developing young team. They got time. So they resetting the clock and they're going with that stratagem, which means, they're going to struggle for the next couple of years. They're going to struggle because, and really it depends too on Kellen Moore. Like right now with the team at 1-8, I really want to see Kellen Moore establish an identity. That's one thing with the season loss. You can at least do that and save and get that part of the game out of the way. So when next year comes, you already have your identity attached. So that's just one thing you got to do as a 1-8 team. We have to be able to establish that. Without that, we're not really working with too much of nothing. We just don't. All right, fam. So anyway, man, let me get ready to bounce. If you got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Looking at the poll currently, 40. What is it for the family members right now? If you hadn't got an opportunity to vote. The question in the chat is grade the Saints trade. And this is in terms of the trades that the Saints had prior to the trade deadline early this week. What are your thought process on the grade? Did you give them an A, a B, a C, or was it an F in your opinion? Did they do good enough to satisfy what you thought they should do, or they didn't do enough? They didn't trade. They should have traded Caesar. They should have traded Cooks. They should have did more to get some of these guys out of here, right? Right now, it's very close, man, to be honest with you. Look like it's 38% for B and C grades that they're giving up. Is tied 38% and 10% A. So B and C gets 38%. I think that's 38%. 38% on both of those, man. So it looked like B and C grades. So people kind of good with the Saints doing that, right? Yep, 38% for the B and C, and then you got 10% for A, and 15% of the people gave him an F. So that's very interesting, right? All right. Anyway, Uptown, what's up, brother? Says the O-line from Miami would be a good pick for the Saints. All right. Thank you, bro. Yeah, from Miami. L-Dub says, did you see Dennis Lausch interview today when asked about the Saints' current situation? He brought up the post-Katrina and said the best is yet to come. It's just, to me, I really don't listen to Dennis Lausch. He does probably one football interview per year or maybe two. And you really don't get any really good information from Dennis Lausch, who's the president of the Saints and Pelicans. He's the top man, the number one or the right-hand man to the throne, which is Gail Benson. The number one guy that's always with her is Dennis Lausch. He's the guy. But Dennis Lausch is strictly a businessman. He knows nothing. I mean, zero, zip, nothing, nada, zilch about football on the field or basketball on the court. He's a businessman. And I've often said over and over again that we need somebody there that has a football or a basketball well, you got Joe on that side, but we need another guy on the Saints side that has to be that guy, and that knows about it at that level. And whatever you get, if you get too deep with it, he can't really break it down. You get too complicated or technical with him, he'll just refer you to Mickey Loomis. And to me, I think that's really asinine. That's why I wanted to kind of reformat the leadership in the hierarchy of what's going on there. Even if you like Lausch as a business person, create a title exclusively to Saints business that he attends to, and create a counterpart to him that knows about football and be that. Now we know Mickey Loomis is right up under him in terms of hierarchy, but that's what's killing you, because you got her, she don't know, and you got him, Lausch, he don't know. So you got two. You can't have two people. If the owner doesn't know, understand that, because they got the money. But whoever's underneath the owner is supposed to know. If you're the president, you're supposed to know. You're supposed to know. But or have the backbone to fire or hire guys to reform, because he does have the power to move Mickey Loomis out of the way. Mickey Loomis is underneath him. He's the top guy there. If he ever grew a pair of balls, he could be able to say, listen, Mickey, I appreciate this. We're going to keep you here, but we're about to bring somebody up and make him a general manager. We're about to kind of update what we got going on right here. That's why people are really not trusting what they got going on, because there's not enough football acumen in the highest rungs of the team. And that's the problem. That's the issue and problem that we have. I'm sorry, fam. That's the issue and problem that we have with this current team and how they currently constructed. So I've given ideas before on what we should do and how we could actually fix that and go about the business of taking care of that. But yeah, I don't get any really good information from Dennis Lausch at all, to be honest with you. No disrespect to Dennis Lausch, he just doesn't know. I think he's totally out of position. H-Town, what's up, H-Town? He says, come on, Q, why would we sign a free agent? This team is garbage with no talent. Just expedite the process, I imagine, right? If you wanted to sign a free agent, right, you can add a veteran talent if you see fit. We don't have to be a bunch of, some of these guys are old and burnt out and basically they're mailed it in. They've been mailed in. I find it really hard to believe that if you're a winner and a person that believes in winning and accountability, that you would not at some point in the first 5 weeks of the season, you would have been calling for a team-only meeting to get it turned around. The mere fact that you didn't do that and you're an old-ass player like some of these guys we got on the team and they didn't do that, they done mailed it in. Man. But yeah, that seems to be the mold, Creole. Say the fams have to realize this team is total rebuild, not a player away from they're way off, bro. You're absolutely right. They're way off. The Saints, to be honest with you, fam, the Saints are not going to be a competing interest in terms of winning anything in the NFC South for a while. This is going to take a while. And I'm saying that because Kellen Moore in 10 weeks has not established none of the fundamental things that we need. There's no offensive identity. These guys are just, even with the old ass guys out here, going, there is the temperament of the team. Like, look how the team is behaving with Kellen Moore over it. There's no accountability. It's a bunch of excuse making. He's saying the same thing Dennis Allen is saying. He's just a more likable version of him. And I'm not saying he's a backstabbing weasel. No, he's the exact opposite. He's a really good dude that is not tough enough, right? He's just not tough enough. And some of these guys that have been under Dennis Allen for years, they're just walking on the man. Yeah, I love this player. I love this player. But these guys don't exhibit the same love for you, Kellen. They're not going all the way out. If the players really loved and believed in you, they'll be going there early and getting there late. They'll get their lesson. They'll know when they run these plays who they're supposed to be blocking. They would know. They wouldn't have to be poked and prodded and pushed and, extra motivated to do their job, and they're already making, millions of dollars. There's no need for that. You're self-motivated because you're playing with pride and purpose. You want to represent, even though you are not complete as a team, you still want to go out and give a hearty effort. Even if you lose, you want to still leave it all on the field. Is that what you're seeing? Right? James says, Q, do you know who else did call? He said, do you know who else did teams call about? I mean, Bob, and shout out to Saints Wire, Bob Rose and John Sigler. They had a really solid article about it that y'all go and check it out on their website, man, that they talked about it. Like some of the players and the calls from credible sources that was saying that were asking about certain players. And he was citing an article that the Saints return price for what they were asking for some of these players was a little too high, and of course not as adaptable or adjustable as you want to do, because obviously the Saints were interested in trading Alontae Taylor. Well, he's in the contract year. Are the Saints going to trade are they going to sign Alontae Taylor back now that they showed their cards? You see what I'm saying? Are they going to sign it? Pete Werner's another guy. I think Pete Werner could have been moved. I think all of these guys could have been moved if you were really motivated to move them. So, and then again, some of these guys are still under contract. The ones that are still under contract, when the draft rolls around, prior to the draft, there is also still a time where you can be able to trade them if you so felt like you needed to. But I'm saying, like Creole's talking about, if it's a rebuild, right? Why we need Cesar Ruiz? Why we need him to stink there, right? You see what I'm saying? If that's the case, if it's a rebuild, some of these guys, this team is not going to be competitive for a while. Kellen Moore has to completely change a lot of stuff, man. It's just this team has no heart, no courage. They're not intelligent, and they don't play smart for a full game. It's just really unflattering film. All I see is unflattering film every Patreon day that rolls around here. Every damn Tuesday I'm looking at tape. It's unflattering film. It's guys not knowing who they were supposed to block. It's guys dropping passes. It's guys, missing tackles. I mean, how many times I got to watch Pete Werner miss tackles? Kool-Aid McKinstry getting burnt. Oh, my bad, Crystal Light McKinstry. Crystal Light has returned. Him getting burnt. Alontae Taylor getting beat. Well, they're not jamming. I'm like, what is going on here? And it's just. Looking at it like it's going to take some years to build, fam. You should be able to see something in 2 weeks. I mean, in 10 weeks, rather. We're supposed to be able to see something. We don't see really I don't see anything. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see anything offensively, consistently. I could say, hey, man, look, the Saints have gotten it. No, I don't see anything. It's been 10 weeks. That's a long time to have 10 weeks, and you got all these practices in between these weeks before the game, and you still don't know who you're supposed to block or how the play's supposed to go. You still don't know that? How is that even a thing? How you practice is how you play. So you mean to tell me Kellen Moore and these assistant coaches allowing these people to look like this in practice and rolling them out onto the field? Oh, yeah, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while, family. It's going to be a while. And that's based on the product that I'm seeing. because we've yet to determine how good they are in developing the players they draft. So it's going to be some trial and error there, right? So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. All right. Jack called Gail a gold digger. Come on, bro. That was that man woman, bro. She was an interior decorator, bro. That decorated into Tom Benson's life, and next thing you know, she got a team. I know them girls didn't like Gail. Them girls did not like his girls did not like Gail, and Gail did not like them. You should have seen. I was reading the reports on what they were saying. Man, it was a hardcore thing going on between them people, man. Crazy work. All right, L-Dub says you're right because he started talking about all the projects, facilities they're building and working on. Yes, indeed. The whole thing is they're moving. They're just focusing on the business aspect, and they don't get it. The fact that this is how when fat, wealthy, when you get fat and portly and just gored with gold and success, you forget how you got it. You got it because you won. When you won, you was blessed by the family base. They have forgotten that lesson. They think they can turn out a bad product. They wouldn't even do that themselves. If they go to the grocery store and they got bad product, they wouldn't even buy that themselves. So it's just a matter, like I said, it's what I'm seeing from Kellen Moore, and I like Kellen Moore, but I've seen enough from Kellen Moore and I've seen enough press conferences. It don't take me a whole year to hear over and over again of what Kellen's saying. Kellen has his accountability simply isn't there. You know, he's not real enough on film. And what I mean by real enough, he's not keeping it real on film. He knows they got guys that's messing up out there, and you keep rolling them out for starters. You keep rolling these guys out here. Why? You know, you see they getting beat on. You see they getting blown past on the film. You see they getting mistackled. You know, you see them not knowing what you keep seeing the same guys over and over again, but yet you do nothing. That's why I say I have it's going to be a while, because to make a change, you got to recognize that who the repeat offenders are, give them an opportunity to change. And if they don't show any improvement, you pull them out of there. That's called accountability. And I watched the film and I'm like, man, these same dudes is making the same mistakes over and over again. And the guy pretending like they practicing. I just find it really interesting that the Saints could practice as many weeks as they can and come out and look like this in these football games. It's really interesting to me. Right. RH Time says, he said, I said Kim wasn't the best hire for rebuilding the team. He has no head coach experience. Well, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of guys that don't have any head coaching experience. But the issue is, like, he has to be able to, like, and I seen this happen with Shough and Payton when Sean Payton came to town. And even when Sean Payton was 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years into his administration, he always was a guy to go in and hire older coaches and have them as analysts, you know, to be around him to advise him. Kellen Moore needs to use that philosophy. He really does. He really needs to use that philosophy. Is he going to keep it real on film? To realize that his offense stinks, that it's boring, it's bland, that he has too many routes, too many wide receivers and routes that he's calling that break down and in comeback routes inside of 10 yards. That defenses have figured out that's what the Saints like to do. That's why they situate their linebackers and safeties within that 10-yard cushion. I've been saying that. Like, man, this ain't hard to tell. Look what they're doing. They know the Saints, because the first several teams of the season found out what they were doing. They did not adjust. They just feel personnel within the 10-yard bubble that the Saints operate with comeback routes in the east to west crap that they like to run, as opposed to attacking downfield. Stretch the defense out, and then that gives you room to operate that way. You know, their first philosophy is east-west, then north-south. You got to stretch the defense out. That provides space, and that gives guys opportunities to play. It's just too junky. Everything's cluttered. That's why it's tough to move and run and all that, because they got guys situated where you like to play. And these guys looking at that, and they're not even making the adjustments. They just think they're going to do it anyway and have success. It don't work like that. The tape don't lie. The tape showing you that defenses are putting people within that 10-yard bubble. The Saints like to run this east-west junk in. It's not working. You know, it's not going to work, man. You got to do something different. Attack downfield, please. Jack says Mickey Loomis is so afraid to trade or let guys go because they will blow up another team, which would be another indictment on his coaching picks. I don't think Mickey Loomis cares about what anybody says about him. I think he is in a position where he feels untouchable. I think Mickey Loomis is completely out of his mind. I think Mickey Loomis feels like he's good to go, and Gail Benson is completely out of her mind to allow him to do it. She believes that he's doing the right thing, even though he's showing you he's failing. But they don't see it as such. I can't explain it. She don't know. Get some of our sisters and our beautiful queens from the Who Dat Nation to go explain it to her. Y'all go talk to Gail and make her understand what's going on. I can't do it. All right, each time said Werner will never start for no NFL team. They let Bourne walk through. That's another one. Zach Bourne was another one, bro. Good call on that. Yes, indeed. Yes. All right, James says crazy guys can't tackle, miss blocks, dropping, pass, fumbling, but they got their handshakes down. Yeah. Yeah, they can clap some hands, bro. Ain't no doubt about that. They definitely got that. They got the handshake down. Yeah, they don't get us no wins, but they got it right. Okay, Bob says 1-17 prediction is well deserved. All right, yeah, the 1-17. I think 3 wins, but I would not be against that because again, I get the keys to victory today, but I'm just telling you guys that it's going to be a while because they're not the progress that we need to see offensively. I'm just not seeing it. You know, like it's just outside of the scripted stuff that you run to open the game up with. What is your offense then? They're just disjointed. They don't know how to use their personnel. Chris Olave has speed. He could be a guy that you use to stretch the defense. We got Velli there. They don't use him at all. We got Taysom Hill back. We don't use Taysom nearly enough. You see number 88 on him. I'm like, why is this third string ass tight end out here? He misses blocks. You don't know what he's doing. Can we at least get Taysom in the game? At least he provides a component where he can be a game breaker for you. You can use him as a running back or a tight end or a wide receiver. We just simply are not doing that. The guy's not, he don't know how to use his talent. And regardless if you cycle in Shough or Spencer Rattler, if the play selection don't change where Shough is allowed to throw the ball downfield, because that's one of his best things to do. He's got a big arm. If you're not allowing him to express himself by throwing the ball down the field to stretch the defenses out so he can have room to operate underneath, then yeah, it's going to be a grind. But I've yet to see the Saints establish an offense is what I'm saying, fam. Not yet. Through 10 weeks. All right. So anyway, yeah, I don't even know about that one, Slim. I don't know about that, man. I really don't know about that. I really do think the Saints, this will probably be one of the worst seasons of Saints football we ever seen because, like you're saying, look what their offense is going backwards. You know, we missing guy on the offensive line. Rashid Shaheed was a good part of the offense, so you're now forced to find, because he had like 44 catches. Didn't he have like 44 catches? Leaving, so he was actually I want to say, let me hold on there. Let me see what was Shaheed's statistics here. He had like 44 catches, didn't he? I want to say he had like 44 catches. That's a good bit of production that somebody else is going to have to come up with. Hold on, fam. Let me pull up the stats right quick just to make sure. All right. And right now, the Raiders and Coach Payton's Broncos are tied up 7-7 right now on 4th and 2, 12:31 in the third. Coach Payton going for that 8th win. All right, hold on. Let me see. The catches, Chris Olave has 55 catches for 560 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Rashid had 44 catches for 499 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, so you remove Shaheed's 44 catches. The next guy is Juwan Johnson, then Brandon Cooks, 19, Alvin's 28, and the next wide receiver is Devon Velli with 5 catches. 5 catches and a touchdown. So that's a tremendous drop. So at some point, you're going to have to see somebody has to fill in for Rashid Shaheed. And I don't think that's Brandon Cooks. It got to be Devon Velli that steps in there. So somebody got to step up here and make up that workload that Rashid is now going to Seattle with. So something's got to happen there. All right. Anyway, as we said, man, we're gonna be in this thing. NMG, shout out DC Soul, shout out to you on the gram, man. Shout out to the Instagram fam, the X fam. Y'all hit that retweet button over there. And listen, fam, one last look at that poll there, man. That's showing 39% gave the Saints trades for the trade deadline a B, 37 gave them a C, 15 gave them an F, and 9% it says they gave them an A. So there you go on that right there as well. So with that being said, fam, listen, we're going to get out on that. I'll pop up, let's see, probably tomorrow with another one, man. We'll finalize the final week approach as we get ready for the Carolina matchup. And like I said, what I'm looking for some of these games, fam, outside of just being competitive, I'm just wanting to see the Saints develop an offensive identity or a team identity, right? We want to see the offense. The offense is going backwards. It went from, 18 to 17. Now they're less than 16 points a game. They had one touchdown last week, but we need to get to the point where we need to kind of stretch the defenses and score touchdowns. And I think it's going to get kind of more difficult because Rashid Shaheed's gone. 44 catches is a lot to make up, especially when the next guy is like Cooks. And Cooks, we know Cooks is not, what he used to be. And Devon Valley, I don't know if he's fitting in like he's supposed to. So it's going to be interesting. Not to mention the Saints did sign Audric Estime, the former Denver Bronco, to their active roster. They did sign him, and he's currently on the team's active roster as the third string running back. So we know Alvin's dealing with, I believe, is an ankle issue. Devin Neal is good, and Audric Estime is the third back in there. Now, in terms of the wide receivers, Chris Olave, Cooks, and Belly, Mason Tipton, and really that's it. Outside of them using Taysom Hill in a similar capacity, I guess they use Taysom at wide receiver or at running back or whatever they need to do. But, yeah, Torres Simpkins steps in at the guard position. We have Luke Fortin there, inconsistencies are Ruiz with Tali out. It could possibly be Asim Richards or Dylan Reduntz. I hope it's not Dylan Reduntz. I hope it is. I don't know who came up with the idea of making Dylan Reduntz a tackle. That was a horrible idea. So I hope he's not positioned as a tackle. That wouldn't be a good thing for Tyler Shough. He's too slow for that. All right. So anyway, Blue Kid Swag says, I can't even stomach to watch games anymore. Too depressing. Yeah, it's well, you know how it goes, fam. We can't call a season. That would be kind of fake on my part, right? To be like, fam, they stink. We suspending broadcast for the rest of the year. That wouldn't be good. I know y'all say AQ, I respect that, man. It's bad, but still in all, fam, that would be kind of fake. That'll be garbage like our team is. That'll be inconsistent and garbage like our team. That'll be something they would do. And we are not them, obviously, right? So it simply is what it is. Yeah, I know Vibe. He says the Seam Richards suck too, but who sucks worse? A Seam or you don't want Dylan Reduntz in there, bro. You don't want him in there, man. That guy is awful as a tackle. He ain't that good of a guard, but he's better. But at tackle, boy, he was awful when they did that. Remember they did it in the preseason trial? I was like, oh, this guy, who did that? Whoever did that need the tooth is slapped out of their mouth for doing that kind of stuff. That was awful, man. All right. Yeah, that's right. Just keep it funky here. We still rocking with you. Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. I'm here, man. I'm here. We dialed in, bro, from the start to finish, bro. We're going to be in here representing, man, no matter how bad it is. As y'all can see, I'll be getting mad, man. I'm like, man, what's wrong with these guys? But, hey, man, we just got to keep on doing our thing, fam, and see this thing out, man. All right, so anyway, y'all do this service for me, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the share button, man. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. I should be back tomorrow with the Friday report and whatever other news the Saints got to share. Shout out to our Patreon and YouTube membership family, man, for y'all support. Doing big things here. And also, man, feel free to check out our sponsors, man. The link's in the description section below. And as always, man, we keep it real deals. We give you real deal spiel at the Coma, man. That's all we can do. In a tough season, baby, we're going to see it through. with that being said, I'm out. Y'all, I appreciate y'all so much, man. I'll let y'all on next one. Much love, peace, and Who Dat.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Alvin. Thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Hey, New Orleans! Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with the WhoDatDaily.com, your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the WhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation. Stay in the NO, you stay in the know.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.